President Thrasher, we appreciate you joining us today, making the trip down from Tallahassee. We've got lots of questions for you, but we'd like to give you the opportunity to start with any remarks.
Sure. Sure. Well, thank you. First of all, thanks for taking the time to see me. I appreciate it. It's always good to be here in Orlando. Good thing tonight. We're having I think it's been termed a Garnet and Gold reception that Mayor Jacobs has put on for our medical school, which, you know, we have a different kind of focus in our medical school. For the last 2 years, we send our kids out to very, very fine teaching hospitals, and of course we have one here in Orlando, and we're very proud of that. And so they're doing something tonight to kind of celebrate the good work that's been going on there, and I'm looking forward to that, to see her and a lot of folks. I think we have a lot of our alumni and some friends. Lee Corso, I think, is going to be there, and a few other people, so it's going to be kind of fun night. Appreciate being here. I'll just be very brief, and I like questions better than probably just opening up, because I think you guys know kind of what some of the things that are on your minds. I took over as president on November 10th last year, so I've been there about 3.5 months. And when you come in the middle of a football season at a big university, it adds a whole new layer of activity. And I had to endure some of the activities of that football season, as you probably know and probably remember. Back then, we were having some issues dealing with some of our student athletes, and still are. And there's still some residual from that. But you know, it didn't stop us from trying to get started on what I believe are my goals for the university. And first and foremost is this top 25 issue. The legislature 3 years ago designated Florida State University and the University of Florida as the two preeminent universities in the state. Now, that doesn't mean they're just designated. We don't have to do anything. We still have to meet an incredibly, I think, important criteria every single year in order to continue that designation. But we've done that the last 2 years. I'm confident we'll do it again this year. But what it does is provide us the resources to really go out and look at opportunities to enhance our faculty, enhance the research capability of the university, particularly in some of the STEM areas, the science, technology, engineering, and math. And we've been doing that. We've hired a number of great faculty members over the last couple of years. We're continuing to do that. We're going to be reporting to the legislature shortly on what we've done this past year, and I think they're going to be very happy with that. Obviously, the legislative session is getting ready to start next week, and I think that we're going to be poised to not only continue our preeminence funding, but also again tell the legislature that we've also been successful in the performance funding that the Board of Governors has set out. We have a lot of metrics. The Board of Governors has metrics. The legislature has metrics. U.S. News and World Report that ranks public universities every year have metrics. AAU, which is everybody aspires to be in if you're not in, has metrics. So we kind of sometimes, I think, we're in metric heck or hell. Mm-hmm. But they're important. They're important for the people who look at the universities and the quality of education going on there, to understand that you are meeting some of these things that are important. And frankly, for the taxpayers who provide us about 40% of the dollars that we have at FSU, that their dollars are being spent wisely. And that's certainly one of the things I'm interested in. One of the things I have been working on and will continue to work on through the negotiation process is a salary issue. Over the years, I think our faculty salaries have gotten askew, particularly in the compression area, where we have younger assistant professors and associate professors coming in, and rightfully so, being paid market dollars. And market dollars sometimes bump up against some of the senior professors that we have. And because of that, I think we've gotten out of whack. And because of the fact that raises were not being offered during the downtime, which, as you all know, has been a tough time coming out of. So we're really seriously looking at that. I think if we're going to be a preeminent university, be one of the top to universities in the state of Florida and attract the kind of faculty that we want to do that, we've got to make sure that our salaries are commensurate with the kind of activity they're doing. So we're taking a serious look at that. The other thing I've really focused on is our student veterans. We have a student veteran center. Last year in the legislature, I was a part of a group that really, I think, passed some what I consider significant legislation that really opened some doors for our veterans who are coming back to the state of Florida. Concept was to make Florida the, quote, I guess, most veteran-friendly state in the country. I want to make FSU the most veteran-friendly university in the state. And so we're working on a lot of things in regard to our veterans. We have a great veterans center leader who's a retired military veteran himself, and we're doing a good job there. I guess, and then maybe these will be some of the questions you'll want to get into. We, of course, have it, and I would love to talk about it to the extent I can, a Title IX lawsuit that was filed by a former student against the university arising out of the Jameis Winston issue. We know that we have some, I don't want to use technical terms, the legislature uses PICO, you know what that is, I'm sure. We have some issues there that we're going to be working with the legislature on. We just sent our list to the Board of Governors. It was approved. We have one major building that we think hopefully that will be funded this session, and then several others. But the whole concept of public facilities and how they're funded at the university level as well as the K through 12 level, I think is something for the legislature really to grasp with. They did a little bit last year, but I think now we're seeing a lot of deferred maintenance needs as rising from the last several years where we didn't have those resources, plus the need to actually keep up with the technology and other things that are out there. So those are things that are important to us too. I referred to the shooting that happened on 10 days after I was in office. That young man that was most seriously hurt, his name is Ronnie Ahmed, who was from here in this area. I think he went to Lake Highland School from Apopka. He is back on campus. Not a lot of people know that, but he came back about a week ago and trying to integrate back into the campus life. His parents are there, his mother's there full-time with him. We've tried to provide him with accommodations, transportation, all the things he needs. He's not actually in classes. He's going to monitor some classes, but he is back on campus, and we're really proud of that. And we'll continue to work with him in making sure that he graduates from Florida State and where he wants to be. Some people, you may want to talk about the concealed carry issue. I don't know if you do or not. If you don't, I know you guys have already editorialized on it. So it's not something I want to talk about necessarily other than
no. Well, we that's definitely on our list, and we'd obviously be interested in your view on that. We did talk to President Fox about that too.
I think I think most university presidents in the same place. Certainly our campus police chiefs are, as well as the Board of Governors. But we can, if you want to get into that later, we can. The other thing, I guess, and I've got a few handouts I'll give you, just these are what I call fast facts and a couple of major just overall issues, and then a little bit more about our sexual assault program, which is aimed at preventing sexual violence on campus. I think that's been an issue of universities all over the country. We hope we're addressing it in an appropriate way. We're going to continue to look at our program and make adjustments wherever necessary. But we have zero tolerance for that, and we're making sure that I'm making sure, using my bully pulpit to talk to the kids on campus about it as much as I can. We were going to have an orientation when the new kids come in next fall, or I guess end of summer, no longer fall. But it's an important issue for them to look at. High-risk behavior on college campuses is no question about it. It's still an issue, and whether it's whatever it is, it's still, and with the social media scrutiny that these kids get today, it could impact you if you're not careful in a very negative way as you pursue your dreams and your hopes down the road. So we take it very seriously, and we're working hard on those programs to make sure our kids understand them. So anyway, that's kind of where we are. overall, I've enjoyed it. 3.5 months, like I say, I've told this to a lot of people already, that I found out early on the best day in the life of a university president, at least in my opinion, is when I don't hear from the athletic director. You laugh, but it's, I promise you, for a while it was serious. But you know, we're trying to work hard with our athletes. We've got some great programs, and our athletes are doing very well in a large number of programs. But there's certainly been some areas where we've been concerned about, and will continue to be. Our goal is for our student athletes to graduate. They do that in a number of our programs on a very high level. We're working hard in the football area to make sure that they come up to where we think the standards are. Anyway, I'll shut up and let you guys go from there, if that's all right.
Sure. We appreciate the introduction.
Well, President, your presidency certainly hasn't really enjoyed a storybook beginning. Students protested your appointment on the first day of office, and some continue to not recognize you as the president of the university. And there are some who are declaring FSU is nationally known for, and I quote, football, rape culture, and Charles Cook, unquote. Does this kind of dissension undercut your ability to lead the school?
Yeah, let me get back and just kind of review that a little bit. I had to, you know, I saw those folks quite a bit during the interview process, and they showed up at every I guess every interview I did, as well as some faculty members. Since then, you know, I met with them on the very first day before I ever walked in my office with the intent of saying, you know, I want to reach out, I want to talk to you about the issues you're concerned about. The issue that they were most concerned about was the Koch brothers contract that they provided resources to our School of Public Policy. And that contract had been entered into back in 2008, long before I ever got there. There had been questions raised about it in the interim, again, long before I got there. Those questions had been reviewed by a number of different folks, including the department head and others. And the question was there a problem with those contracts in respect to academic freedom? Were professors, in other words, being told what to teach, how to teach, and were they being selected by the Koch folks? When I got there, I met with these people, and they were primarily young people, and I'd say there were about 19 or 20 of them, and it was the same 19 or 20 that were there basically when I was interviewing. And I agreed to take another look at it. Agreed to do that. So I sent it out again to through our administrative, our provost, to the department head. I sent it to the dean of the School of Arts and Sciences to have a look at, and I also sent it to the steering committee of the faculty senate. The senate is a broader group, and then they have what they call a steering committee, which is like an executive committee. And all three of those groups came back and said, in their opinion, there was no problem with that particular agreement in respect to academic freedom for the professors who were teaching and for the students and the graduate students who were there, and particularly graduate students who were in the program. So I communicated that to them. They wanted, I think, to probably meet with me personally and privately, again, for whatever reason. I offered to meet with several of them. They didn't want to do that. And so we sent out a written document that actually stated the work that we had done on that particular issue, as well as our opinion that it was the contract was a reasonable contract. What I have done, and I've instructed our staff to do, is if we ever get any of those kinds of agreements again, where somebody is coming in, whether it's Koch brothers or George Staros or whoever, and they want to provide resources to our university, we will make sure, absolutely sure, through our faculty, through our Senate steering committee, through the dean of the particular department, that nothing in that agreement would interfere with academic freedom in the manner in which the professors provide the instruction to the students in those areas. So I think we're okay. I will tell you this, that group is probably not going to be happy unless the Koch brothers were gone from our campus. I wouldn't know the Koch brothers if they walked in the door, personally. I've never met them. I've never communicated with them. I've never had a phone call with them. I simply felt it was important, though, to take another look at it. I did. I think I satisfied what my responsibility was, and we're going to move on. I would say again, this is a small group. It's probably, you know, they will tell you maybe it's bigger than what I'm suggesting, but at the meetings that I've had with them, mostly 19 or 20 in that range have showed up. There are 42,000 students at FSU. I'm responsible for dealing with all of those students and making sure their academic pursuits are able to be achieved. And I intend to do that. I will spend as much time with them. I've offered to meet with them individually. I hadn't had anybody take me up on it yet.
Is this the same group that issued the 9 demands?
Yes, yes it is. Yes it is. And in fact, it's the same group that the last time I saw them, they came up to Westcott. Again, it was about 19 or 20, and they had a lot of signs. Our chief of police, who I consider is one of the top in the country, David Perry, he is in fact the president of the whatever they call the Association of University Chiefs of Police. He's the national chairman. He bought a Humvee for the police department. Florida State University has some extraordinarily low places when it rains, and we've had hurricanes in Tallahassee come through, or at least many small or residuals of them. We get a lot of rain in Tallahassee, and so he bought a Humvee that basically would allow him to go into low-lying places if we ever had to do that. It's part of I guess, the national surplus of vehicles and stuff like that. Well, this same group of folks came and protested the purchase of that, and basically said we were militarizing the FSU Police Department. They gave me a petition. I looked at it. I talked to him, found out why. We communicated back, and again, I haven't heard back from them in that respect. But those are the kind of issues that I guess you deal with as a president. I'm prepared to deal with them. And look, I mean, they have a right to dissent. They have a right to object to anything that we're doing. I have a right, though, to look at the facts and hopefully you know, let them know what I believe the facts are and move on.
Are you considering the 9 demands that they put forth to you? Is there anything that we might see you agree upon?
I don't remember what, to be honest with you, I have to go back and look at them. I don't have them in front of me today. I think they largely dealt with the Koch brothers. I think that was the issue primarily most of them dealt with.
Transparency.
Transparency, which I talked about, and I agree with that. I think those are things that we ought to be doing. If they weren't doing them before, we certainly are doing them now. We're gonna require that we do them. We're not going to enter any agreement that would, I think, in the ideas and the minds of the faculty and our deans and as well as our department heads, interfere with academic freedom. We don't want to do that.
And since you mentioned the Title IX suit, and this is something that you inherited, the whole Jameis Winston affair. From what you have been able to glean and from what you've been told by folks who have been at the university over the duration of this, are you confident that the university did everything it should have done or did everything right in handling that?
I am. I'm very confident. And I will tell you right now, we're going to vigorously defend ourselves in that lawsuit. Mm-hmm. I'm very confident. You know, I want to get into the Jameis personal, stuff and all that, but, the facts are these. I mean, the Tallahassee Police Department looked at it. They sent their investigation to Willie Meggs, the state attorney. He found no probable cause to file any criminal actions against Mr. Winston. We then subsequently, when a complaint was filed, a formal complaint was filed with us under our code of conduct, we purposely went out, rather than doing it ourselves, which under our rules of the code of conduct we were allowed to do, and went out and sought what I considered the most credible person that I could imagine looking at this case and the facts, and that's former Justice Major Harding. He conducted a hearing, looked at over 1,000 pages of transcript, took testimony from various witnesses, and determined that under the Florida State University Code of Conduct there were no violations. I consider him one of the most credible people I have ever met in the judiciary, and I think his findings I think were very important in how we looked at that case. That's separate, though, from the lawsuit that's been filed against us. The lawsuit that's been filed against us is strictly by the young lady, Ms. Kinsman, against the university and the trustees, obviously, as they're sitting there as the board of trustees. It's not filed against Jameis; it's filed against us, and it's basically being pursued by some lawyers who are from Colorado, who have had a lot of experience in these kinds of cases over the years. They've filed a lot of them, and I think when the facts come out, I think we will be. I think Florida State University will be vindicated based upon the evidence that will be presented, and I feel confident of that. And my board has basically said, based on the reviews that they've had, to move ahead and defend ourselves vigorously.
So the charge that FSU supports a rape culture is unfounded?
Very unfounded. We absolutely, you know, we have a safe campus. Now, you're probably going to say, well, Thrasher, what about the thing that happened the other night? We had a sexual assault the other night by two young men who now have been apprehended. I will tell you, I just found out on the way down here today, the second one is getting ready to turn himself in. These were kids in a dormitory. I don't know all the facts of how it happened, but it happened at like 3 o'clock in the morning. But, you know, I walk around our campus. I talk to the kids. They feel safe. And I'll tell you the other thing. I don't think we would have over 20,000 kids wanting to apply to Florida State University for the fall semester, which we've had, if they felt, the families felt, there was any kind of a problem at FSU in respect to safety of their children. I certainly wouldn't send my child there or my grandchild there, but I have a daughter, a granddaughter who will be a junior or senior next year, and I hope she comes to Florida State University, and I feel very confident that she'll be safe. I feel very confident that anybody's kid will be safe if they come there. I think we've gotten some publicity that's uncalled for, frankly. I think the New York Times, in fact, when they wrote the article about Jameis and some other things that were happening on our campus, I think they even acknowledged they may have gone over the line a little bit in terms of the actual facts of those cases. So we're responding to it as we can. I'm not going to go spend $1 million, I'll be honest with you, in trying to defend every single thing that article is written, but I will defend the ones that I think are factually incorrect, and we'll vigorously defend those.
You mentioned safety on campus. One of the arguments from advocates of concealed carry is that the campus will be safer if kids who have licenses and have met all the requirements, 21 years old, you can carry them on campus, and that women in particular, if they've met those requirements, might feel safer from threats of sexual assault.
You know, all I can do, Paul, is rely on my own instincts, obviously, I think are important in listening and understanding that issue. I had a personal situation which people have talked about. You probably know about it. A friend's daughter was killed 3 years ago. By an AK-47, by the way, not a handgun. I rely on David Perry's judgment and on the judgment of a lot of people who have been involved in the criminal justice system, that they believe that given the environment of a college campus, and frankly, you know, I'm not here to tell you high-risk behavior doesn't happen. It happens on every campus, I think. But I think if you mix that together with the potential for weapons on campus, I think it's a potentially harmful mix. My librarian, who's our head of all of our library services, wrote me an email the other day and said basically that, you know, you would not believe the tension on the last 2 weeks before exams. She said fights break out in the library. People they get tense. Their grades are on the line. Sometimes they think their career is on the line. Obviously, a lot of these kids take it very seriously. And she said, can you imagine if someone brings in a weapon in a backpack and gets disturbed or upset about something that's happening, and they get, because we know there are mental health issues. I mean, we know that this young man, Myron May, who did this act on our campus, had some very, very serious mental health issues that really weren't apparent. And if people who knew him would never have told you that he had a problem. Something happened at the end, though, of his life in regard to that, whether it was the wrong kind of medication or not on medication. I don't know the answer to all that. But I do know that we try to deal with those kind of mental health issues on our campus in the best way we can. But to me, when you weigh everything together, weigh what you just said about the gun, I just think on balance, I would feel more comfortable not having more guns on campus than less. That's where I come out at.
Well, given your unique background among the other presidents, I believe are you the only former legislator now among the presidents?
So.
Yeah. You may have the most influence and the most personal contacts of anybody in your position in the state of Florida. This bill is moving through the committee process right now. Are you going to do anything personally to try to stop it?
I hope I get asked by the legislature to talk about it from my own personal experience as well as president of the university. I can't go and lobby for it because I have a 2-year ban as a result of that, of being in the legislature. But I can be asked to testify. If President Gardner, for instance, wants to talk to me about this issue, he could invite me over to his office. I'd be happy to talk to him about it, as well as any other legislator. But I think I've publicly stated through many the press and other places every chance I can, as well as speeches that I've given in Tallahassee, my strong opposition to this legislation. It has passed one committee in the House and one committee in the Senate. The Senate has a fairly large, I think 3 more major committees before it would ever get to the floor. My reaction, my feeling is that the National Rifle Association folks and Marion Hammer, who's been a friend over the years, must be concerned about it because she seems to be actively talking about it every single day. And I know it's not just in Florida, but they're apparently making this attempt all over the country. I guess the short answer to your question is, I will speak out when and if I can in the legislative process, and I'll do it vigorously.
We spoke a little earlier about some of the objections you were facing from the student body, but professors have also decried your appointment. Do you think that some of their objection lies in the fact that, in the minds of many, you declared war on teachers in 2010 by introducing legislation to link public school teacher evaluations to student test scores?
I don't know what all of it is. You could ascribe a number of reasons for it. I'm not going to try to get into their heads and understand that. But I will tell you this: in the last 3.5 months, and you could talk to any of those guys. One of the guys who voted against me, who's on the board of trustees of the current president of the Florida State University Faculty Senate, Gary Tyson, he and I have become pretty good friends, actually. He, I think, sees some strengths that I have that maybe other presidents who have academic backgrounds don't. I think he understands that I believe in accountability, and that was the whole purpose behind that legislation, was accountability and rewarding those teachers that really perform well in the classroom. I still think that's good public policy. I hadn't moved away from that. That's why I'm talking about the salary issue at our universities. I think we need to be able to reward the people who are doing good work for Florida State University. Now, it won't be the same kind of system that we have in the K-12 system, but it will be a more peer evaluation. My goal would be to hopefully give the resources that we have to the departments, if we could get the union to go along with that, and let the departments then determine which ones ought to be rewarded and how. The point is, though, testing and evaluations and all those kind of things that are so in the forefront today in the K-12 system don't necessarily fit in the university system. But they do, I think, they do in some regards have some potential for looking at who is the best and brightest and retracting the best and brightest. The universities have a lot of turnover, and a lot of folks come and go. Question for Florida State University: if we're going to move into the top 25, how do we go out and achieve that and get the best and brightest? Well, you do it, I think, by understanding we're going to reward the people who are there, who are doing good things, who are doing good research. Hopefully our student faculty ratio will come down as we hire more professors, and that's an important metric, by the way. All of those things, I think, go to accountability. How we use our dollars, again, I'd say this every single day just about to some staff person or some member of the faculty or a dean or whoever, the dollars we get aren't our dollars. People give us those dollars. They either come from the state, they come from philanthropy, or they come from grants, usually from the federal government, primarily from the National Institutes of Health. We need to be good stewards of those dollars, and that's what I believe in. I haven't changed any, and I think people are understanding that a little bit better. So, get back to your original question and premise. I'm not sensing the kind of opposition I had during the interview process that there's there today. I think people are understanding that. I don't want to put it on a personal basis with me so much, but they understand that what we're about is good stuff for Florida State University, and it will ultimately get us in the top 25 and help everybody.
On funding, you all have the preeminence funding available. But the governor has said that he again wants to hold the line on tuition. Is the preeminence funding and the performance funding without
enough?
Yeah, is that enough?
Right. Good question. Excellent question. The answer is yes. I think it is. But the practical answer is it doesn't really matter because we're not going to raise tuition. Bottom line is we're not going to raise tuition. University of Florida is not going to raise tuition. Just to give you one, just to go back and remind you, up until last year, universities had the authority to raise tuition up to 15% through the process. The legislation that was passed last year did away with that authority. Now it would have to be up to the legislature to allow a university to increase their tuition, except for the two preeminent universities, University of Florida and us. Even with us, though, we would have to meet certain metric criteria that would be approved by the Board of Governors. Both Dr. Fox and I presented at the last meeting of the board, well, the meeting before the special meeting in Tallahassee and Jacksonville, a joint, basically, comment that neither of us were interested in raising tuition. So the board basically set aside their work on the metrics that they were working on. So that brings us back to preeminence and performance. And the answer is you better believe we're going to go after the preeminence funding in a hard way. First year was $15 million. Last year was $20 million recurring. This year we're going to try to go after an additional 5 for STEM funding and STEM professors, as well as an additional 5 for laboratories and other types of facilities that we think are important. Some of these professors come in and it's not just a salary, it's a salary plus a laboratory, the assistants that they have, because science, technology, engineering costs a lot more money, and we realize that. So we're going to go after an additional $10 million. The other thing I would love to see the legislature, now that we're getting back to an economy that I think is doing better, is go back to the matching, the Cortellis funds. I don't know if you remember that or not, Paul, but we had a program back in the late 90s. It was named after Alex Cortellis, a guy down in Miami who gave a lot of money to different universities. And basically, if somebody gives $10 million, the legislature would have matched it with $10 million. We suspended that simply because of the downturn in the economy, and they couldn't afford it through the PICO fund. I think we can now. For instance, Florida State, I think we probably have about $84 million in matching funds out there that we can't get to because we haven't had a match. And I'd love to see the legislature take another look at that, because I think it incentivizes private donors. I think it gives them something to really latch on to. Plus, it gives us an opportunity to, A, go out and tell a donor, look, if you'll do this $5 million or $10 million, those are big donations, no doubt about it, we can go to the legislature and get an additional 5 and 10 and really make those dollars work for the university. So all of those things I think are important, but tuition is out. Governor's now proposing, I think, the latest is that we not be allowed to raise tuition for graduate programs. I don't know whether that'll pass or not. I think it's part and parcel of what he's talked about in the past. Graduate programs are a little different. You know, when you look at medical schools, law schools, things like that, they're a lot more expensive. Yeah, they're particularly expensive for some of the universities that have had them for a long time. Our medical school is right at the bottom, though. I mean, but you know that in order to attract the best and the brightest and those kind of things, you got to do well. Our law school, by the way, is #1 in the state. Number 1 in the state. We're in the top 35 in the country, and no other law school in the state of Florida is in the top 50, including our friends in Gainesville. So we're proud of that. But again, but for the preeminence money, I think for us it would be a difficult struggle. It would be a difficult struggle if we're going to try to get in the top 25.
I just want to make sure I don't misunderstand. Yeah. So you're definitely on board with the undergraduate tuition cap. Are you on board with the graduate tuition cap as well?
I am.
Okay.
For the time being, you know, I think we have to hopefully we'd continue to look at those things on an annual basis. I mean, you know, legislature obviously things change from year to year, but I hope we'd take a look at it every year.
In your candidacy letter, you wrote that you are, quote, prepared to bring a different perspective about higher education, its roles in society, and how to foster access, affordability, and excellence in education through online learning and other methods. What does this different perspective look like?
Well, to me, one of the things it looks like, for instance, it would be for instance, I'll give you an example of our program in our business school, our entrepreneurs in residence. One of the things that I think I want our kids to be able to do is when they get out of college is to find a job, obviously. To me, that's what you go to. I mean, I think at least part of the major reason you go to college is to hopefully find something that you want to do the rest of your life in your career. And to me, we have a lot of kids who are graduating, frankly, that don't have the requisite background in business issues. And so what we've created is an entrepreneur in residence program that the Moran folks, the JM family folks down in Deerfield have really supported us on, and it's to bring a professor into a different college other than the business college and give those kids an opportunity to understand, you know, some of the basic fundamental concepts of running a business. Because if you graduate in social work and you want to set up your own business or whatever, you probably haven't had the background. Our kids are going to get that background now. The other thing is that I think is important is career readiness. I mean, when you get out, are you able then to look at the world outside and get a job? We have and I have supported it vigorously, an incredible career readiness program at FSU. One month ago, we had 160 businesses on campus in a single day, meeting with over 2,000 of our kids at the Tucker Center. That was all organized and brought together. 2,000 kids, all of which are not graduating, but most of them, frankly, are undergraduates. But they're starting the process of understanding what's out there in the field that I'm in. We teach them how to go look and try to match up their career goals with the curriculum they're working on. We then teach them how to do just a basic curriculum vitae. We teach them how to interview. We teach them, you know, about some of the companies that they might have an interest in, and then we put them together. So to me, I mean, that is an important part of the college experience. We're also finding, and I think this is I think I haven't read it entirely. Somebody told me about it, but it's part of what I believe in. Gallup did a poll recently that said the kids who do the best when they get out of college are kids who have had some kind of out of classroom experience, either as an internship or traveling abroad. We have a number of programs which we have campuses in London, Florence, Seville, Panama. Those are our 4 major campuses. And those kids who come back from those programs are really enriched in a major way. We have kids who get fellowships that can go to another country and work on a project through an idea that they've come up with. I think the more we can give those kids the kind of experiences of internships, travel, abroad, wherever, gives them an enriched opportunity when they get out of college. So those are just some of the things that I believe are transformational to me, that I think are making a difference in our campus.
So overall, what do you see as the university's role in society?
It's pretty. To me, it's pretty clear that we want to educate young people and give them the opportunities that they want to achieve their hopes and dreams, and to give them the breadth of those opportunities at a university level, whether it be in law enforcement, whether it be in social work, whether it be in theater and dance. And by the way, I'm not shortchanging the arts. We have a strong history in Florida State University of arts programs in theater, in dance, in filmmaking. All of those things are important, and they provide good jobs for a lot of our kids. And we're not going to ever shortchange those. So I want it to be the most enriched experience they can have. I want them to have the best opportunity when they get out to pursue their dreams and hopefully get a job that makes a difference for them in their life. I tell you what, for me, but for the opportunity that I had at FSU, I know I wouldn't be sitting here today. I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of things I've done today, but having the undergraduate degree and then the law degree, to me, opened so many doors for me, and I believe it'll open doors for kids. People are saying, you know, today, a lot of people are talking about, well, why do we need a college education anymore? I just think that's a bogus argument. I think it enriches you. It gives you an opportunity to do so many different things in life that opens doors. College education, I think, is still very, very important.
Do you think FSU is putting too much emphasis on athletics?
Good question. Another good question. Okay, here's the is FSU putting emphasis on it, or some of our alumni putting emphasis on it? I don't think I'm putting emphasis on it. I inherited what we have. We have some incredibly successful athletic programs. We are a major university when it comes to athletics, and we're successful in a lot of ways. But it is, I will tell you this, I've traveled all over the state. I've been to every major city in the state now, with the exception of Pensacola. I haven't been over to Pensacola yet, but I've got that on my list. But I've been to Charlotte, I've been to Atlanta, I've been to, and then like I said, every major city. A lot of our alumni, the face of the Florida State University for a lot of our alumni is our athletic teams. And so I don't think you can, I don't want to shortchange athletics, because I think it is important to a lot of our alumni. They come to Tallahassee for football games. They come for basketball. They come for, you know, our young women won the NCAA championship in soccer last year, first time in our history, and it was an incredible group of young women. I don't think we're putting. I think if you're a student athlete, and I emphasize student, because I think if we ever move away from that, and we can talk about that if you want to, about what the NCAA is doing, and I've been to a couple meetings already about how to address the cost of attendance and not pay salaries and all those kind of things, which I'm totally opposed to. But I do think there is a place for kids who are remarkable students who still want to come and do some high-level athletics at a major university. I think there's a place for that, and so I embrace it. I certainly don't put it ahead of the academic issues that we have and the academic concerns, but I do think it's an important thing that we have to balance as we move ahead. We have some great coaches. We have some great administrators. I have an athletic director that I think the world of. His name is Stan Wilcox. He came from Duke. He's really a successful guy, and he's done a good job. And so I kind of rely on his judgment on how we balance. We have tutors that work with our student athletes because they're out in the field a lot, practicing and all that, and they sometimes need some extra help, and we provide that extra help to them. So again, the face of Florida State University, I like to think is not just athletics, but I think it's academics as well, and we're going to try to balance those two things.
During your interviewing process, you mentioned that you pledged to support programs that promote diversity. Mm-hmm. What kind of specific programs do you have in mind? Are you looking at beefing up community college transfers and that sort of thing, or?
Well, diversity in the sense of that I think our number of minority students has fallen off in some respects, and particularly in African Americans. I'm not sure why. I think that's probably happening across, the best I'm told, across the country, and at least in some areas. I want to reach out. I have met with the on two different times the board of directors of the Black Student Alumni Association. I have hired a gentleman by the name of Al Lawson, who's an African American, to work in our community to see if some things that are going on there that we could maybe enrich the opportunities for our African American kids. We're probably getting a higher number of Asians and other types of people from other countries, but we need to be a diverse campus, and I'm going to look hard at that over the next several months, see what we need to do to enhance that. If it means reaching out to our high schools, which I think we probably do a pretty good job, but maybe not the best job in terms of reaching out to counselors and letting them know about Florida State University, whether it's the need for preparatory type of courses before they get there, what can we do to enhance that? I know Florida A&M does that in their engineering school. If you want to talk about that, we can too. But having Florida A&M in Tallahassee obviously brings some African Americans into their school that perhaps would go to Florida State University. But we need to be cognizant of it. We need to look at it, and we need to make it a high priority, I think, in order to enrich again the experience of all of our kids. So I think it's not something we'll turn around or do overnight, but it's something that we want to continue to address.
Understanding that FAMU has a different mission than FSU does, but would FSU consider looking at profile admits as FAMU?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we would, and if we could structure the kind of program that could prepare those young people for the way FAMU does it, for the experience, because, look, I've talked to high school principals. I've talked to some of our professors that say, for instance, in a science area or physics or whatever, higher math, whatever, if kids don't start getting in line to take those kind of courses by the 7th or 8th grade, they're generally, if they want to be a chemist, if they want to be an engineer, if they haven't done that kind of preparation, they're probably not going to be successful when they get to get that Florida A&M or Florida State University. So it's important, I think, that we reach out to the high schools and let them know that kind of preparation for all the students is important, and because it's highly competitive now, highly competitive to get there.
Do you think that our K through 12 schools, with all the tinkering that we've done in accountability and trying to raise the scholastic standard here, are our K through 12 schools aligning to get kids ready?
I think so. Again, I talked about the 20,000 kids that applied for our fall semester, over 20,000 now. I think the average grade point average for the kids who are coming in, I think unweighted, is about 4.0. The average SAT score is about 1863, maybe 1843. I'd have to go. I've got it in here somewhere, but it's in that 1800 range. So something's happening out there. Kids are either, we're only getting the good kids that are highly prepared, or they're all getting that kind of enriched opportunity at the high school level. But I don't think we're any different than the University of Florida or Central Florida or whatever in the kinds of kids that are applying. So I think the high schools are aligning. But my point is, in the area of STEM, of science, technology, engineering, those math courses, it is important that those start early on in order to get a kid prepared when they get there for that kind of rigorous program.
Get to the engineering school question.
Yeah. Well, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but in the recent legislative session,
Well, let's fast forward. Let's fast forward to where we are today, and that'll happen because I fully admit that I did what I did. I did it because of a number of things. I had been told over the years, and by both sides of the engineering programs, that it frankly was not working very well. It wasn't working well for the A&M side, or wasn't working well for the FSU side, and it was trying to get lost in the shuffle of programs. And so, you know, you go out, if you want to get something accomplished sometimes in the legislature, you go out and you have to kind of hit people over the head and make it a more dramatic issue than perhaps it should be. But that gets attention, and it got attention, obviously. Got a lot of attention. But what ended up happening at the end result, which I think was the right place to be, was that the Board of Governors hired a consulting firm. And they hired a consulting firm, paid them a fairly large amount of money to go and look at the aspects of the Florida A&M FSU relationship in the joint college. And what they found was basically, and they used this word, their word, not mine, dysfunctional operation. In terms of the way the school was managed and looked after. And they made a number of recommendations. And so we worked Elmira Magum and I worked with Marshall Kreiser, and we came up with what we considered a pro forma for how to move ahead this first year. And it consists of a new governing council that she and I will both participate in. We both pledged to do that. We will have our provosts on there, our vice president of finance on there, and I believe our vice presidents of research, as well as Marshall Kreiser as the 9th voting member. We will look at every aspect of the school, from the integration of faculty to tenure to how promotions are done. We'll look at the finances, how the finances are being used, the resources are being used rather. We will report regularly back to the Board of Governors, again with the metrics that were outlined in the agreement. And then we'll ask the legislature if they would create a line item budget entity. I don't know where it'll be up to their wisdom, but my guess would be it would probably be in the Board of Governors to put the resources in that one line item entity that we get and that Florida A&M gets, so that again we can manage it in a professional way that moves the college forward. I think it's a great first step. I endorsed it last week at the Board of Governors, so did Elmira, and we're excited about moving ahead on that project.
Was the concern originally then too that this collaboration was weighting down FSU's attempt to rise into the top 25?
I think it was. I think it is. I think if you look at our engineering school and where it's ranked compared to University of Florida, even the University of Central Florida, we're way below. And you know, I want the real thing is the experience the kids have. Are they getting the kind of education? Are they getting the kind of ability to do the research they want to do, whether it's in mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, or whatever? Are they getting a good opportunity to finish? I think as you probably, if you've looked at the numbers, you knew that the number of students coming in from Florida A&M has been declining over the number of years. That shouldn't happen. We should be trying to embrace a system that encourages more engineers to come, more minorities, more women. And I think the system, the way it's set up today, wasn't doing that. I'm hoping that this will turn it around and we'll all be successful. And if it helps us get in the top 25, so be it. But again, the most important experience is for the kids and their ultimate outcomes that they get.
We've got lots of questions, but we also want to respect your time and hold this to about an hour.
Yeah,
so
that's good. That's good.
I just want to ask you quickly, since you've just been through the whole interview process, one other thing that's changing or that could potentially change based
I know
on
what you're gonna ask.
based on a bill that's moving through the legislature now, is to make a lot of the process of hiring a university president exempt from the Sunshine Law. How do you feel about that?
Forget about me for a minute. Look at what the University of Florida did in terms of hiring Dr. Fox. I think they got an extraordinary man in Kent Fox. And it was done in the open. It was done in the sunshine. And to make the argument that you can't do it in the sunshine, I just think is a bogus argument. And if I were in the legislature today, I would not vote for it, personally.